Hello and welcome to the podcast We Are Selling. My name's Lee Woodward. Today's program is brought to you by Realtor, the real estate digital platform of pitch, sign and sell. Today we are discussing communicating price, and no matter what marketplace you are in, up, down, changed, this still will continue to be the highlight of your listing conversation. And for some of you, a thrill-seeking moment as an owner doesn't react to the figure or the price you're suggesting. Happens to us all. So before going into scripts and dialogues or words and concepts of how to best deliver price, I think we need to give consideration to understanding how price is created, not stated. Allow me to provide some coachable moments for you. And as I take you through this psychology behind pricing, I'm going to label them for you. And the purpose of the label is for you to remember it in your own way and deliver it with your own words, your own tone, your own feel. My first label is, no one can get angry at a system. As an agent, if you are to say, I think it's worth or the pricing is, that is your opinion. You are the agent. I can get cranky at you. However, when we use a system, the system produced the number. And already we've got realestate.com.au's estimate, which is a figure online that people can view. Now, no one's going to get angry at the platform for producing a number, which is an algorithm of surrounding sales. And I use the word surrounding because every single property is looked at to give that automated valuation model. And when that number is produced and displayed, no one rings up and gets cranky at the platform and says, how dare you, my home's worth more than that. It's just a figure, but it's not a person. Realestate.com.au is a platform. It's not a person. Whereas you as an agent have an opinion. So knowing how to neutralize that and within your communication about price, because I don't think you should state price, I think you should communicate price. Because the price is going to be determined once we work together. However, the owner did bring you in to find out what's the property worth, how long is it going to take to sell, what are the changeover costs, and how you would market the home. So pricing is a key set part of your presentation that needs to be strong, not weak. I think a lot of people shy away from an agent because they're not confident on discussing price. Not delivering it, but discussing the delivery of the price. As we continue on this subject of communicating price, I thought I'd bring in a real estate superstar to assist us out. Joining us from the Bell Property Group on the Central Coast is Cathy Baker. Cathy, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for having me.
Now, Cathy, you've got a wild ride. Those that follow your career are just blown away. You're 12 years in real estate. You're on track to do $4 million in fees this year. You sell from 800 to the top end. What is top end for you? What's the highest price sale you've done?
My highest sale price is $16.5 million, which was a Central Coast record that I set in 2022.
Wow. And for all our listeners in the UK and also in LA, because we've got a lot of you over there now as well, and then our Australian marketplace, that's a lot of dough for someone to understand selling at that level. What type of owners are you representing at that level?
Mainly holiday home buyers, absentee owners, high-end high net worth clients from Sydney that are looking for that landmark property that's going to add to their portfolio and be something that they enjoy for years to come. So it's a different market, very much a niche, and it is a specialist market in the way that you work it and the way that you present price and understand everything about the buyer and seller relationship at that level. And there's very few people, particularly on the Central Coast, that are working in that space. And it's something that I've started to perfect over the last few years and something that I really enjoy doing.
Cathy, let's go into the lounge room. You've got an owner there who has a vision of what they think their price is, and then we've got the marketplace around us of what's going on. How do you communicate price?
Look, I think before you communicate price, the groundwork is the most important thing, because most people are emotionally attached. They're scared. You need to understand their motivation for selling, and you need to understand what the other side of the picture looks like in order for them to let their guard down and you be able to understand the whole spectrum of things that are going to, make that changeover difference work for them and make them feel comfortable about the price that you're going to suggest in the end.
Couldn't agree more. So if we look at the techniques that you use, just before you came on air, I was saying no one can get angry at a system. We're going to type your property in here and a number's popped up and they can't get cranky that's what the computer said. What techniques do you use to get the owner to understand price versus just giving a figure?
Look, I spend quite a lot of time in the research phase and the unveiling with a client of exactly who they are, building down all the barriers and developing a layer of trust before I even go anywhere near price. Because I think if you haven't got the confidence and the trust with the client, it doesn't matter what price you tell them, you're not going to win that business. So, essentially, make them feel comfortable, try and understand what their situation is and look at the long-term picture of what does 10 years' time look like for them. Take them out on a journey to understand what that long-term picture looks like and then bring them back to today. And when I talk about price, it's not a direct conversation on price. It's a discussion about various different case studies of properties that we've sold or that have sold around them, various different case studies of what properties that stayed on the market for a longer period of time and some that sold very quickly, so that I can get them to understand that there's, different things that might happen with bringing your property to market. But really it's about sort of getting them to open up and talk to you about what their opinion was of the sale up the street and how they feel that their house compared to the one up the road, and getting to understand what's their perception and how they feel that their house compared down. And then having confidence in what you present, because if you've got a strong track record and you've got examples of how you got a premium price down the road and the strategy that you used there, then you will be able to get the right price for the client and they'll sign up with you no matter what price you put on that paperwork. The context really comes from being clear about the fact that the market is what it is. It's changing rapidly, and every day it could be a different figure that you're presenting to them. So focusing purely on the process of how to get them the premium price as opposed to a promise of a figure is where I start.
I know with the properties you're taking to the market at the moment, you're taking them through a buyer engagement process before going live in the portals. Take us into that. What are you doing there?
So I start my process with a week off market in our Bell Private, which allows us to bring the team through the property, bring some buyers agents through, some qualified buyers through the process, and then gather that feedback, which allows us to bring the team through the people. We then sit down with the client face to face based on that feedback. Does it need anything doing to the presentation? What do we need to do in order to get more people through the property? What do people like and don't like? And we use that as a sounding board to have a really transparent discussion with them as to what everybody's opinion is on price and what they like and don't like about the house, and that starts to form the basis of a starting point and a benchmark. From then we'll go to market on the internet portals, etc. and still have another week without any price on the property and another sample of people through in week one. And then we'll sit down with the client again face to face and we'll talk about all the fors and againsts and things that we think will be relevant. And we talk about a starting point, which is a guide that we might put onto the property in week 2. And from there we're working up to try and get leverage by getting layers of different buyers that are interested at different parts of the process to try and leverage that property price up as high as we can get it, using the process that we've selected to help us through that. But at all times are we transparent with buyers. We've got a very clear guide which is based on market interest, not based on a pluck out of the air figure, and it's increased as the interest increases on the property, but it's a much better way than having a price that's inflated that has to then come down.
Absolutely fantastic, and you were a perfect person to appear on the program today because we're talking about communicating price, and you've actually got a timed auction coming up as well. Yes,
so I love the thought of the timed auction. I think it's a great transparency tool for buyers who often get frustrated with the whole auction process, and I get really disappointed with the way that some buyers are treated through the course of an auction campaign. So I'm very interested to see how that works. But I think that, as long as the ingredients are right and people are aligning their price to the current market and, the starting point is transparent and clear for the buyers, then there's nothing to hide. I mean, people will buy the property if it's listed at an attractive price, and the leverage from an auction should do the trick to show where it's at any point in time. So I think it's a great process.
Yeah, the timed auctions are a great way of communicating price. And final point on this, I don't think anyone wants a massive price. I think they want a chance of a great price. And that's that significant difference. I think sometimes an agent says, no, that's where it is, take it or leave it, that's the marketplace. Well, that's not what they were looking for. They want to be guided through the marketplace. And yes, they may have to drop at 500, $1 million, $2 million. I know as I look around the nation right now, Byron Bay's just had significant reductions in price. But that's what it is. That's what is happening there, and the teams working that market are doing so well to communicate through to the owner. But it isn't easy. You've got to face your fears. I've just said that, and Cathy, you are the best example I've ever had on facing fear. You've been through many transitions in your career to get where you are now. It's like a double tip today, but what was facing fears for you?
Being clear and clarity of who you are, what you're working towards, and what you really want out of life is the key to it. That I faced when I first came into my real estate career, and I identified a 10-year plan that I had a clear goal as to what I wanted to achieve and where I was heading, and I've just really followed that plan and stayed true to it, and enjoyed the journey along the way by being brave enough to do all sorts of things like stand on the stage at ARIC and go and visit Richard Branson and all the things that I had on my vision board that I never thought in my wildest dreams I would have achieved. So
I saw that with Richard Branson. How did you get onto that gig? Tell us about that.
It was one of those, I'd say the law of attraction is a really strange thing, because once you do have a clear vision of what you want out of your life, it's amazing how you can attract it. I was going up to Noosa and picked up a book at the airport and read it from front to back cover and sent a message to the lady that wrote it to say, loved your book. And she sent me back a message, you've made my day. It's the first day the book has been released. I'm sitting here on Necker Island with Richard Branson, couldn't be any happier. And I sent back a throwaway comment that said, if you ever need a holiday house in Kilcare, be sure to look me up. 2 weeks later, the book went to #1 bestseller in the country. She looked me up, came for a retreat. I ended up doing a training session for her team. She became my mentor, and she nominated me to replace her on Necker Island. So my lifelong dream of meeting Sir Richard suddenly came true.
And we are so proud to have you on the program today. Cathy Baker, you're going to appear again in the future because you're about to do a stack of more development for your own team and business, and I might just share that with our audience. Cathy, you popped in today. You're redoing your customer journey. You've got a vision and goal to build the best onboarding training system you can for your team, for your group. Why has that been important to you?
Look, I really think that we have a very unique way of working in real estate, that we do value our clients for a lifetime and work on 10-year plans with our clients, for example. And it's very important to me that as we're bringing on new people into the industry, that they're actually onboarded with professional standards and taught the way that is my real estate system in the way that I would like them to learn it. So once I've retired from the industry and my team carry on the business, that everybody still carries on the way of looking after a client in the same way that I would do while I was here.
The Cathy Baker real estate system is going to be recorded, internal launch release for your team, and a fantastic job, and we look forward to being part of that with you. But for joining us on We Are Selling, we are very fortunate to have her here, Cathy Baker. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lee.
As we wrap up today's program, there is so much information provided in this particular show about communicating price. And as a closing comment and tip, I'd like to share this way of explaining or delivering the words around price for you. John and Helen What I'd like to do now is discuss the pricing of the property with you. And when we look at price, there is two figures. There is the mathematical figure, which is determined by an automated valuation model that the banks and the valuers use. And then there is the emotional figure that we could get a purchaser to pay based upon their borrowing power. And in the sale of any property, the two are directly related. For example, we could attract a purchaser to the property who engages in those two inspections to make a decision. And then they commit an offer based upon the negotiation process that we take them through. And we could get them to their peak state and offer the very best money on the property. And as the owners, if you accepted this incredible offer, you would be closer to releasing the asset onto our purchaser. And this would perfectly represent the emotional figure that's been achieved. When the bank looks at that number, they type in your address, the algorithm searches all the surrounding sales, and a number pops up of mathematically what the property is worth. And this digital estimate is what affects the borrowing power of the purchaser. So we emotionally might get an incredible figure and we have a yes from you, but then the bank says no and the purchaser cannot proceed with that offer. And this has happened a lot in the changing market in the last 12 months. And as your agent, it's our job to protect the asset. So what we'd like to do is work with the purchasers in a staged marketing approach, adjusting the price until we find the buyer engagement level. And in the current national marketplace across all agents and brands, most properties are going through anywhere from 3 to 5 adjustments before achieving the final result. And the peace of mind that the property was not undersold. So those adjustments are part of the process. It's not that we are dropping in price. We're setting it higher than we expect the marketplace to bear, and then we will bring it into the marketplace until we find our engagement level. End of dialogue, out of role play. And I hope today you've got everything you need to assist you in communicating on price. And that brings us to the end of another podcast, and we look forward to you joining us next week. My name's Lee Woodward, author of the Complete Salesperson course, and this program has been brought to you by Realtair, the real estate platform of choice of real estate professionals on how to pitch, sign and sell real estate. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.